Good. How you doing, George? Would everyone please find their places? We'll recite the council prayer. Dear God, today as the session opens, we pray that your presence will be before us and everyone who serves in the decision-making process of our city. We pray for direction which will lead our city to be strong and unified. May we continue the legacy of our founders. May we be granted this day the wisdom to make decisions which will be for the good of our city. We also pray for your special blessing on all those who are working to transform our city and make it a better place to live and work. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Clerk, roll call, please.
Councilor Armin Mercia.
Present.
Councilor Rita Mercia.
Here.
Councilor Milanazzo.
Here.
Councilor Roderick.
Here.
Mayor Caulfield.
Yes.
Councilor Elliott.
Here.
Councilor Kazanjian.
Here.
Councilor Lenzi. Councilor Martin.
Here.
8 present, 1 absent.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. The chair would like to recognize Councilor Rita Mercer.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to offer a moment of silence in darkened chambers for 2 outstanding women, Mary Betty Crowley, wife, mother, and grandmother, beloved wife of Donald P. Crowley, with whom she would have celebrated their 55th wedding anniversary. She was an adored mother of 5 children, 3 sons, 1 son being Lowell Police Lieutenant Tim Crowley, former supervisor of the School Resource Officers Program, 3 sons, 2 daughters, a mother of 8 grandchildren. She was a member of St. Margaret's Parish in the Highlands section, where she was active in the Ladies' Sodality and the parish school. She worked at the Demoulas Supermarket and Union National Bank in Chelmsford, and also spent many years volunteering at Lowell General Hospital. I'd also like to offer a moment of silence in dock and chamber for Pauline Gamache, a lifelong resident of the Centerville section of Lowell. She was a parishioner of St. Louis de France Church. Pauline was employed by the city of Lowell for 32 years in the treasurer's office as assistant treasurer, tax collector, and retiring as the payroll supervisor. Surviving her are a daughter, Lynn, and a son, Robert, as well as her 2 grandchildren. Pauline served this city well, and she will be truly missed, along with Mrs. Crowley. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Council Rita Mercia. The chair would also like to recognize Council Alan Kazanjian.
Thank you, Mayor. I would also like to have a moment of silence in darkened chambers for Nick Patullo, lifelong resident of Lowell. Nick served in the United States Air Force during the Korean conflict, a retiree from the University of Mass Lowell. Nick is survived by 2 sisters, Louise Scarapole of Dracut and Elver Sutcliffe of Lowell, a brother Tony and sister-in-law, Tony and a sister-in-law Lucy of Lowell. His lifelong companion, Mitzi Walton of Dracut, and many nieces and nephews and grandnieces and grandnephews will be truly missed. God bless us all.
Can we all stand with a moment of silence in darkened chambers for these 3 wonderful citizens? May they rest in peace. Thank you. I will now entertain a motion to accept the minutes of the last meeting, moved for approval by Councilor Milonazo, seconded by Councilor Martin. All in favor of accepting the minutes of the last meeting signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The minutes have been accepted and placed on file. It is with great pleasure, as the mayor of the city and my colleagues in the City Council and the Lynch administration, to recognize Ani Muscovich, who would like to address the council on the parents of murdered children. Mr. Muscovich.
Thank you, Mayor Caulfield, City Councilors, and City Manager. My name is Ani Muscovich. I live at 101 Mount Hope Street, Lowell, Mass. I am the chapter leader of the Merrimack Valley Chapter of Parents of Murdered Children. As you might or might not know, on April 26th to May 2nd is National Victim Rights Week. We are here tonight to invite you all to this event, which we'll have on April 27th. The event will consist of 2 parts. The first part will be at the Lowell Auditorium between 4 and 7. We will have the info tables from different victim services. And the Middlesex Sheriff Department will come in and do fingerprinting and canine demonstrations. The second part, which we will meet at the Lowell Auditorium at 7:30 p.m. and do a candlelight walk to City Hall with a bagpiper and an escort by the Middlesex Sheriff Motorcycle Unit. There, we will start with the Lowell High School show choir with the color guard. They'll sing the national anthem. Then the mayor will give a proclamation, and then we'll have speeches. To finish the event, at the Lowell High School show choir alumni will sing "We Are the Survivors," which is the POMC theme song. Also, we are trying to get more schools involved. For example, Lowell University victimology class will give credit to the students. They give credits on their grades for attending this event. Greater Lowell Voc will do all the print work and help out. The Lowell High School show choir and color guards will also be there. We believe this event is a good awareness for the students. This event is for all victim services, victims of all crimes, and concerned citizens. We are at the Merrimack Valley Chapters of Murdered Children are committed, just like you guys are, to make a safe place to live in. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Muscovich, and the mayor and the council, the Lynch administration will be with you, and we understand and feel your pain. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Anyone else?
So, Mr. Mayor,
Council Rita Mercia?
Yes, I would encourage people to jot this date down on your calendar because it's a very, very important to show our support for the families who have lost loved ones. This is not an easy subject, very, very sad, and until you've been there, you don't even know what these people are going through. So April 27th, and I encourage people to please be there. That'd be nice if we kind of remember it again. I know that we're only into February, and April will be like a couple of months away, so if it's all right, I'd like to bring it up again closer to the time to remember people again. Thank you very much.
And I know it will be advertised and brought forward through the Lowell Sun and the media, and the community should come out and support this family for what they've been through.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on with the agenda, Councilor James Milonato.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If I could, I'd like to move for suspension of the rules and to take two items out of order. We have a number of representatives from our Portuguese community here. They're interested in, obviously, your motion, Mayor Caulfield, item number 19 on the agenda, as well as item number 8, a vote accepting a very generous gift from Mark and Alicia Saab from the Saab Family Fund. So if I could put that in the form of a motion to suspend the rules.
Move to suspend the rules, seconded by Councilor Rita Mercier. All in favor of the suspension of the rules, signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The suspensions are in order, and I thank you for doing that, Councilor. If I may, from the podium, I would bring my motion forward, and I must say that Manager Lynch and I met with Maria Cuna, Glenn Mello, Luis Perdoza, and Frank Cabello last Wednesday, and we discussed this, and I said I will bring this forward so the council would be on board with it as well, and the motion reads, City Council requests the city to support the Portuguese community in their efforts to erect a monument honoring their commitment to the community. There will be no cost associated to the city of Lowell with this monument, and I would ask if the council would allow, does someone second that motion? Seconded by Councilor James Milonato, and I would ask if the council would allow Maria Cuna, who is representing the Portuguese community, to please come to the podium and offer some comments. Thank you, Maria. Along with Frank Cabello, Glenn Mello, and Luis Perdoza. Thank you.
Good evening, Your Honor, and members of the City Council and City Manager. I am here with my colleagues from the Portuguese American community here in the City of Lowell, asking for your support to this motion. And our goal is to, for future generations that come after us, to recognize the many contributions that the Portuguese community have made to the city of Lowell. The Portuguese community has been in Lowell for over 150 years. Many are homeowners, business owners, and contributed to the life of the city. And we felt that the best way to recognize the community is to join the other ethnic communities that are represented here in front of City Hall, and to do that with a monument. We do have monuments on Back Central Street. That's our neighborhood where most of us grew up and lived there and still have family there. But we felt that as we are aging and the younger generations are moving to different parts of the city and to other cities and towns, that this would be the best way to recognize all of the work and the contributions and the hard work that our ancestors, our parents, our grandparents have made. So we thank you again, and we appreciate your support in this endeavor and many others endeavors that we have, that you have supported us through. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to offer some comments? Glenn?
Mr. Mayor, City Manager, members of the council, my name is Glenn Mello. I'm a second-generation Portuguese American. My grandparents came here in the early 1900s, worked in the mills. My parents were very proud of their Portuguese heritage. In fact, my mom donated the tools that my grandfather, her father, used at the Suffolk Mills to the Mogan Center for an exhibit years ago on the immigrant workers. I know that they would be, that George and Angie would be very happy, along with many others that have gone to their reward, to know that a monument dedicated to those that contributed to the city of Lowell and to the achievements of the Portuguese community would stand in a city that opens its arms up and welcomes so many ethnic groups in their pursuit of their American dream. So I ask that you consider the motion request. Thank you.
Anyone else to Frank or Louis? Okay. I must say that this monument, this beautiful piece of granite, will be gray in color. It will fit right in with the aesthetics of the building, and will just add one more great thing to this great city. Council Armin Mercier and Council Bill Martin and Council Rita Mercier.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First of all, I wholeheartedly support this motion. I think it's a great one, particularly when we find out that it's not going to be city funds that's going to be erecting it. I wonder if they selected a site yet. Is there a site in particular at City Hall?
I would ask if the council refer the motion to the manager and let the manager work with the Portuguese community and the logistics. And,
Okay.
yeah.
That's fine.
There were two sites they were looking at, and
Okay.
I think
All
they
right.
have. Yeah. Council Bill Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Certainly support the motion. My wife's family hails from the Azores originally. I'm going to butcher the language a little bit, but La Graciosa, I think, is the place that they were from. And I was told, I think, by your pastor, Father McGlynn, there are more people in Lowell from Graciosa than there are in Graciosa. At least that was his take on it after spending many years at St. Anthony's. So I know when I was the mayor, we had the mayor from one of the towns in the Azores come visit. Interestingly enough, whose wife was from California, so she and I were the only ones at the party that didn't speak Portuguese. But I did pick up a little bit over my time there, and just want to say, I believe it's obrigado. Thank you for the contributions that you've made. And you can go after the meeting and enjoy a cerveza.
Council Rita Mercier.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm honored to see this come before us. I'm so proud. The Portuguese people work very, very hard in whatever they do. Let's just take a look at Back Central Street neighborhood many, many years ago when it was blighted and in disrepair, and Portuguese people started moving in, and they transformed that Back Central Street area into a beautiful, vibrant neighborhood with very gracious people. They're very, very good. I had the honor of visiting Graciosa, Terceira, Pico, Fayal, all 5 areas in the Azores. Gracious people. I feel a part of you. You're wonderful. I'm so happy. I know that this motion will be referred to the city manager, but I wholeheartedly support it. Obrigada. Thank you.
Is there anyone else who'd like to offer comments? Councilor Elliott.
Just briefly, I think my colleagues really mentioned all the finer qualities, but having married a woman of Portuguese descent, I clearly wholeheartedly support this, and I think Rita said it best, a hardworking community. I have many families in my area that just good people that contribute to the city, and this is probably long overdue, but they certainly support it, and we'll look forward to the dedication and when it comes due. So,
Okay.
Thank you.
I must say that we have many leaders in our city. Many of those leaders are women. And next Monday, we're going to honor one of the leading leaders of our city, Maria Cunha, next week, and honor her with a Women's Day week, and we're going to honor you, Maria, with a proclamation. And behind these 3 great men was this great woman who brought this thing forward, and we're pleased to do it. And as Council Rita Mercier and my colleagues would testify, the Portuguese community are so compassionate. They're pillars of the church and just great, great citizens. So we're pleased to do this for you, and God bless you. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The motion carries. And I believe this dedication will happen sometime in June. And I want to just repeat, there's absolutely no cost associated to the city of Lowell. The Portuguese community is going to fund this whole project. Thank you. Moving on with the agenda, as Councilor Milanazzo would like to see, we're going to take out of sequence the next agenda item. Vote authorizing the city manager on behalf of the city of Lowell to accept a gift from the Mark and Elisa Sapp Family Fund, a donor-advised fund of the Greater Lowell Community Foundation, of $20,000 for restricted use for the winter protocol at the Lowell Transitional Living Center. Motion to waive the full reading by Councilor Broderick, seconded by Councilor Elliott. All in favor of waiving the full reading signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The full reading's been waived. Second reading by title, authorizing the city manager on behalf of the city of Lowell to accept a gift from the Mark and Elisa Sapp Family Fund, a donor-advised fund of the Greater Lowell Community Foundation, of $20,000 for restricted use for the winter protocol at the Lowell Transitional Living Center. Any discussion on this wonderful gift?
Move approval.
Thank you.
Move approval by Councilor Elliott, seconded by Councilor Kazanjian. Roll call. Mr. Manager, you want to speak? Yes.
Mr. Mayor, just thank you. I'll be brief, but I just wanted to thank the Saab Foundation for this very generous gift. This, as you know, was an issue that we encountered earlier this year that we didn't know if we'd have enough money, or I should say the Transitional Living Center didn't know if they'd have enough money to be able to have the winter protocol in place during this very cold season. And in fact, they had plans to not have a winter protocol. But through the efforts of a number of people and generous donations, generous gifts like this, the winter protocol was put in place in early December. It has been running throughout the season, and we do anticipate that we will be able to end the year, the winter season, with the winter protocol in place for all that period of time. There are a number of large and small donations that have made this possible. In the very near future, I hope to be able to provide a report to the City Council and to the public on the various donations that we've received, some of which have come to the city, like this one, but others that have gone directly to the Transitional Living Center, but one way or another. And I should add that the state has also come up with additional money through some efforts that we made to get them to open up some additional revenues for us to have this happen. So I think certainly very important for the city, very important for the homeless population, but also clearly an indication, this gift, an indication of the generosity of so many people here in the city to reach out and make all of this possible. So I want to thank the Saab Foundation for their donation, and let the City Council know and the public know that our efforts were successful in keeping that going. And I think we actually are in a position where we actually have a leg up for next year as well. So the efforts have been very successful.
Before we take a roll call vote, I just want to state that it's the people in the city that make the difference on everything we do. And there's other communities who ask constantly, what is so unique about Lowell? And it's the people who come forward. And is there anyone here from the Mark and Elisa Sabb family who please come to the podium and receive a round of applause for your generous donation, please? Yes. $20,000 thank yous to you. Thank you. God bless you. Roll call.
Councilor Armand Mercia.
Yes.
Councilor Rita Mercia.
Yes, and thank you.
Councilor Milonazo.
Yes.
Councilor Broderick.
Yes, and
Mayor
thank you.
Caulfield.
Yes.
Councilor Elliott.
Yes.
Councilor Kazanjian.
Yes.
Councilor Lenzi. Councilor Martin.
Yes.
8 yeas, 1 absent.
And you will be receiving a thank you and a citation from the mayor's office. I know Manager Lynch will also be forwarding a thank you for this generous donation. Thank you. Communications from the city manager. Any councils would like to discuss those communications? Councilor Elliott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Manager, knowing that Independence Day, that is the new collection system that the city will be changing over to next week, wonder if you can give us an update and maybe a brief explanation. I know the barrels have been distributed, I'm presuming throughout most of the city, 26,000 households. Wondering how it's going. I know it's a big change, and it's going to be a good change, but can you give us a status report as to how it's going and any issues or concerns that homeowners may have? How can they get addressed before next week?
Councilor, thank you for the opportunity to provide you with that update. As you say, it's a major change that's happening. I think the rollout has gone quite well. A few bumps along the road, perhaps, but by and large, when you consider that we're out there distributing 26,000 toters and putting this new system in place, I think it's gone quite well. Now, obviously, there's going to be a few more bumps along the road as people get used to the system, but I'm confident that the city will be able to get through that quite well. The people have certainly seemed quite excited and interested in the system. I do have Assistant Manager McCarthy here today, as well as our solid waste recycling coordinator, Gunther Wellenstein, and perhaps one or both of those individuals could give you an update on where we are and what issues that we still see ahead. Mr. McCarthy.
Thank you, Mr. Manager, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, Council. Just as the manager has already discussed or elaborated upon, at this point, as we stand here tonight, we have approximately 21,000 bins distributed. We anticipate that number, as manager alluded to, 26,000. We expect to be a little closer to about 24,500 or 25,000 altogether moving forward. Two items that early returns as we've introduced this program and implemented this program. The January numbers that we received back from Allied Waste, we had a 500-ton reduction in solid waste over the last couple years. We averaged in January of 07 and January of 08 about 3,200 tons. And we came in at about 28,000 this year. So that's a very positive sign. I would not contribute all of that to bin dependence and reduction, certainly a large portion of it. I think we have to factor in the economy as well. People purchasing, people disposing, sort of equals out. The other piece of good news is the recycling numbers are up in January, which is positive. We have about a 12% increase in newspaper, paper material, and about a 15% increase in commingle. That's an increase of about 32 tons altogether. So initially, we do have some positives starting out in this program, and again, we'll be monitoring that closely, and we hope to see those numbers increase. Altogether, that's 12-15% in the neighborhood, so that's good. Logistically, the issues are coming up that we discussed 2 weeks ago. Number one is we expect to have all bins. We're in the Friday route. I would estimate 2/3 of that completed, so we'll be completing that in the next few days moving forward, so everyone should have their bins. Again, biggest issue is the elderly swap outs. Both our billing records and as some elderly folks see the size either too big or too large, they're requesting a swap out. So that's one of the issues we're working through. Again, Allied Waste has been right there from the start. They're collecting regardless of people using the bins. And as we move forward into this program past Bin Dependence Day, which is next Monday, they'll be still collecting and working out issues as they arise. Some of those will be bin swap outs. We anticipate we'll have most of them done, but it will be a work. So we will continue doing that and try to accommodate as many people as possible. The other issue that came up were some of the, as we talked about, the assessors database, which picked up some of the housing units. We only had a total housing unit number, so essentially anything with 5 or less was cut off. Some of those parcels represent buildings, two buildings with 4 or 6 units. That would make them eligible. So we've had to ramp up some of those and reconfigure some of those and deploy additional bins to those locations. Regarding enforcement, we completed a 2-hour seminar with representatives and inspectors from the health department and the building inspections division, as well as the meter enforcement folks. They attended that, got an overview, a substantial overview of the program, what will be expected of them. This first component is almost complete, is getting the bins to people, to their homes. The next part of this, moving into this for the next several weeks, will be the educational component of this, of the program, to make people comply as we outlined in changes to the city ordinances. Moving forward beyond that, when we get into the actual, ticket enforcement component, that Andy Sheehan did in the law department did a great job of getting the 21D process shaped up. We do have a program. The tickets, again, are at the printer, and we'll be training inspectors to input that information so that these tickets and revenue from that can be generated as needed. Marketing-wise is the one piece. One of the things that is still to come, you'll see tomorrow, Allied and the city have partnered up in the Lowell Sun will be a large pull-out insert which will outline the Independence Day program, what it is about, and some of the recycling guidelines. I'm still waiting for the city component. That was supposed to go out with the census in January, which is a secondary issue. So we wanted to make sure that all 40,000 households got that. There has been some delay, but I am assured that they will be out starting tomorrow. So that will be rolling into households Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and alike going forward from there. So we tried to save a few dollars. Unfortunately, it didn't get out as soon as I would have liked to have it into homes. But certainly, the telephones have been ringing. The hotline, the Independence Day hotline, has been fantastic, as Gunther. That information coming back, some of the feedback that we've been getting, the questions really, do I use plastic liners? Can I write on it addresses? So I think overall people generally get it. Which is a positive, again, gleaning from the information, the calls that we had. Again, I really have to commend Gunther and his staff for keeping up with the calls and trying to get back callbacks to people, everyone, including the staff at DPW. They also have been exemplary in keeping up with callbacks and getting information going. So at this point, what I'm going to be anticipating is any slowdowns, again, is the swap out as we deviate from the one bin and try to accommodate as many people. That's where I really foresee some issues that may come up, and we will work through those.
Councilor Elliott?
Thank you, Mr. McCarthy. I think it's important to continue to let folks know that this is taking place. We all see the barrels. I think they're slick, and they're really going to do a lot for the city. Just in terms of recycling, can we just go over one more time? People can use the barrels that they have been using for trash for recycling it, because they're going to be recycling more. The bins aren't going to handle enough. They can still use the bins in addition to, but they can just write recycling on our existing bins and use that, and the drivers for recycling will know to pick that up.
Exactly. Councilor, as you pointed out, the old barrels that you have, people are looking, that's one of the calls we get, what do we do with our own barrels? Very simply, we have stickers.
But those stickers...
I put these right on the barrels. They're available at Neighborhood Services here at City Hall. They're available at Lowell Department of Public Works and the Health Department.
But we're not mailing those out. I'm sure they'll be
These will not be
expensive.
mailed out. If you don't want to get a sticker, you can simply, as you pointed out, right on top of this is bottles or recycling material on that, and it will be collected. What we really try to promote is use the green bin for your newspapers and cardboard, and use your old barrels to collect your cans, your bottles, your spaghetti jar bottles, all of those type of items go into that barrel, and you won't have to bring it out to the curb every single week. It'll probably take you a week or two to fill up, and then take it out. So a few less trips to the curb.
But you can, people can, and they should be putting them out on a weekly basis, right?
They can, whatever they need to do. If they don't want to take out a full barrel, they can.
And secondly, you mentioned mailings. Can you just elaborate? A mailer is going home to every single home within the next several days?
Yeah, it'll be in the census. The U.S. Census is coming out this year.
But it's coming out before, is it coming out
it'll
before
be coming
this
out,
week?
I talked to actually had the election office. It's actually facilitated through the election office.
Okay.
And again, it saves several $1,000s.
Oh, no, I agree.
So, and it was supposed to go out January 21st. So
Okay.
everybody will be receiving a sort of a two-page document like this with their census that outlines basically everything you need to know about the program, yard waste, the stickers, everything you sort of elaborated on here, and the things we've been promoting for the last few months.
And just one last item, the purple bags, they're in stores now. I know they're on the website, but not everybody has the website. Is that included in that leaflet by chance, where they can get the bags? I mean, I have the list there, CVS, Demoulas, AG Hardware, Rite Aid, a number of stores.
have them off of there. It does not. The reason why it does not is because when this was produced, we didn't have that information. The Really stores just started signing up last week and getting those. The first week we had it available, there were 16 stores. So all the stores you sort of mentioned that are on the website currently will be on the shelves Thursday, and we expect more stores to roll out past then. If there are any shop owners out there, feel free to contact us at Public Works. We will put you in touch with the vendor who is providing the bags, and we will set you up.
Can we put that on cable? You know how there's, advertisements on cable? So, I mean, people.
It's a great idea, sure.
Maybe the newspaper can print it for us. I think people are going to.
It's an excellent idea. We'll put it on LTC. Absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you.
I just want to commend you and Gunther. This has been a huge task, as well as the subcommittee that worked on this and the manager. It's a huge change. It's going to save us, millions of dollars down the road, as well as, help the environment and just a whole slew of positive benefits. I know it's not going to be easy, but I think you and Gunther have done a great job, and I hope Gunther's not scheduled to be furloughed in the next, month or so, because maybe we can delay it, but I just want to thank you, and I think it's exciting, and as you mentioned, there's going to be some, some difficulties, and some folks may not understand it, but in the long run, most, if not all communities are going to this system, and I think we're ahead of the curve.
That's right, Council. We are going to be, City of Lowell will, thanks to the council, it was a very difficult decision. It was something we didn't have a whole heck of a lot of alternatives to do, and we are going to be one of the leaders in the region as far as implementing this type of program. So there were 3 or 4 other communities right behind our chasing us, and they will be implementing it in the near future.
Council Kazanjian and Council Rita Mercier and Council Martin.
Thank you, Mayor. I also want to thank Mr. McCarthy and also Gunther. They did an excellent job. I know that the last meeting we talked about the mixed-use buildings. Can we bring that up now and talk about it? And
That'd be under communications, but you
Right.
couldn't bring it up now.
Actually, I believe there is a...
While we're on the subject, I figured maybe we talk about it. I mean, and
Sure. Yeah.
good. Do you have any information, Mr. Manager?
I did have there is in the city council packet, there's a memo from Mr. McCarthy to me regarding the information. At the last city council meeting, there was a request to get information regarding the mixed-use properties. Mr. McCarthy has provided those, that there are 299 mixed-use properties that we have in the city, and within those 299 properties, there are 1,585 residential units and 455 commercial units. So he goes through some detail here. What I might suggest is, based upon the recommendations that are given, it is in the city ordinance currently, the new ordinance that was approved, but also in the prior city ordinances that mixed-use properties were not included in the city's solid waste program. That's fairly commonplace. Because of the issue of the difference between commercial waste and municipal waste. There's a line there environmentally with environmental regulation. So generally, communities make that prohibition, and certainly it appears the City of Lowell has had that in place for a number of years. But it's also clear that the City of Lowell has been providing pickup to some of those mixed-use properties through the years, hence the confusion or the issue being raised with the new program now, where we're now providing the carts, the toters. We sort of brought that to a head. So I guess I would, refer it back to the council if the council is interested in changing the ordinance to allow those mixed-use properties. We would have to put a system in place to make that possible. So we may want to have bring this to a subcommittee meeting or have a revised ordinance drafted up so that we're complying with the law.
Yeah, I'd like to bring it to a subcommittee meeting so we can talk about it, but we'd have to do it pretty quick because the first of the year, first of the month, everything's going to change. And
right.
We either have to either do it or not do it, either one of the two. So
that is an issue that
yeah, Councilor, if I may, we have a list through the billing of those properties where we have been collecting. We can continue beyond that. I've talked to our contractor, and there's a way to facilitate that until such time as an ordinance change or whatever the will of the council is going to be on this particular issue. But we can continue to support those properties that in the past had been collected.
So we may, if I may, following up on Mr. McCarthy, perhaps we could continue on for those properties for another 30 to 60 days to give the City Council a chance to review that and look at the cost implications as well as some of the logistical issues of collecting from those properties.
Okay, thank you. Yep.
That would fall on the subcommittee, I believe, Council Kazanjian, the
Yeah, you're the
neighborhood.
chair.
Am I right?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, yes.
Okay.
That was exactly the issue that I'm bringing up as well. And Councilor Kazanjian, you are the chair. Councilor Broderick's on this subcommittee along with myself. This is the Neighborhood Traffic, Recycling, and Utilities Subcommittee. It's getting longer and longer every single year.
But I think that's
But
the
you're
only
on
way, the only really way to address this issue. and
Because as we speak, I receive 5 more calls. Every time the letters go out, we're flooded with calls. So I know what section of the city is getting the
Same
letters
here.
next, and I almost was late for this city council meeting because every time I went out the door, the phone rang again. Actually, when I look and scan the crowd behind us, the audience, there are people sporadically placed listening to this very issue. So it's a very important one. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Council Martin?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Also on this issue, the memo is very helpful, and I do also want to thank Mr. McCarthy, Mr. Wellenstein, Mr. Sheehan. I've gotten, might be hard for you to believe, but compliments from people about the way they've been treated when they're calling about questions. And we, I think, on the council are getting complaints, but we're also getting compliments about the way you're handling this and conducting the whole thing. So I think you deserve to hear that, because I know how hard you're working on this. But as to the memo, it says, perhaps the council would impose the same criteria, which is 6 or less residential units owner-occupied may be eligible for pickup, but we don't require it to be owner-occupied if it's 4 or less residential units. So I'd point that out to people, and probably those types of units, with 2 or 3 residential units are the ones that aren't going to be as big a problem. So that may change the numbers on this, but I think that's an important point and I'll bring it out at the subcommittee meeting. But this isn't quite the same criteria, at least in my view. It's not quite the same criteria as we have. And the people I'm getting calls for is, geez, I got a small little office on the first floor and 2 units above, and my mother and father live in one, but I don't live there anymore. So that wouldn't be owner-occupied, yet I doubt that's a problem type of situation either. So, again, I think it's a good idea to continue to provide the pickup until we can sort this out. And I'll have more to say at the subcommittee meeting, but I did want to note that issue.
Yeah.
Councilor Amon-Monsieur?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm delighted to hear about the continuing on the mixed use, but how is that going to be implemented? Are they going to get a barrel, or how?
I believe
More than likely, council will have I'll speak and get more specific details, but I imagine we've just collected the same way. We will have those trucks in the city because we do anticipate some non-compliance initially, and we will continue those, again, to those properties that we know are being billed. We will collect from those properties. If people haven't received the bill in the past, we'll have to take that up. We just simply don't have that information. They may have been receiving. This is a very old, these ordinances have been going in. I can't even explain to you why we have so many people billed in this category of structure, even though the ordinance didn't allow it. Be that as it may, we'll have to see what's out there and find out if there are those other properties that are out there to give them some time. We're not going to leave trash on the street. That's one thing for sure, but we'll work through the logistics on that as we go.
So people who were collected because they were mixed use can continue putting their trash on the street for pickup?
as long as
On the appropriate day, yes, Council.
As long as they've been, as long as they're
they're-
billing, right.
Okay.
Right. I think what we're finding, and there's another issue that's included here in this packet of information we provided you, is that there have been people, well, we're finding several things. Some people that didn't comply with the prior ordinance that were being billed, that shouldn't have been being collected, but they were paying. Then there are some other people in the city who were getting pickup, but they weren't being billed, and they shouldn't have been being picked up. So we're, if anything, and we're also finding, another sort of sidelight to this is we're finding some residents, some structures that we didn't know there was many residential units, as we're now finding out. So this one new program has taught us a lot about the city.
We already knew.
Right, and some of those, were anticipated. We knew the billing structure and where it was. Just by the sheer number and volume that we have with trash, there was definitely some sort of infiltration of, to drive those numbers up as high as they are. As the manager pointed out, that was the first, as we started dropping off to multiple units. I have 5 apartments here, but I only got 4 bins. We take a look at the assessors database, there's only 4 units. So that's being looked at. Then we have the issue of foreclosed properties as we deal, and that's a growing number of the bins that were, dropped off and not being collected there. So if you are in a neighborhood, you see those, we're trying to check those and working with the Inspectional Services Division. Thankfully, this council implemented that ordinance, and we have a somewhat of a base to go off of. Again, it just goes by compliance. Are they registering? So, let us know. But there are a multitude of issues that came up, but we are working through those.
Council Milonazo?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I too want to commend Mr. McCarthy, Mr. Wallenstein for their work on this particular issue. As the manager indicated, there is also more information in our packet dealing with rooming in boarding houses. Specifically, upon the investigation that had been done, we discovered that there were 30 structures classified as boarding houses. So I think we should let the viewing public know that we will also accommodate those 30 structures until, I believe, April 1st, going forward. And again, the research that was done indicated 30 structures, average occupancy per house at 14.4. Occupancy rates varied from 2 to 50 people. So again, it's a very interesting dilemma when we get into rooming and boarding houses. But from the standpoint of us accommodating them, we will do so, and it should be acknowledged publicly until April 1st.
Mr. Manager?
Right. Thank you, Council, for bringing that up. That's one that's a little bit more complex for us on a variety of levels. As you point out, we are going to, so that there is a smooth transition, we are going to continue providing those. We run into a couple of other issues there, one of which is that in some of these cases, the number of units they have far exceed what is allowed under the ordinance, and they're really, in many cases, businesses that we really shouldn't be picking up at those. And then there are some other cases where they're nonprofits that statutorily, we've discussed this with the law department, we're prohibited from providing a service of that sort, because essentially it's a donation, a charitable donation, which violates a section of the state constitution. So that opens us up to some liability issues as well. But we wanted a transition, so we do provide those till April 1st, and then they'll have to make other accommodations.
Council Kazanjian, then we're going to move on.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to hold that subcommittee on the mixed use March 3rd at 6:30, if my colleagues can make it.
What's the date?
March 3rd.
March 3rd?
Yeah, 6:30.
If I could, Mr. Mayor, we do have a 5:30 public safety and a 6 o'clock, 5:30 housing and a 6 o'clock public safety. Again, not knowing how long the public safety subcommittee meeting will go, it's on the knife ordinance. I don't think it'll go beyond 6:30, Councilor.
Okay.
So 6:30 would probably work, but I just want you to acknowledge there's 2 others that night.
Okay. Now, the program's going to start March the 2nd, isn't it, Mr. Manager?
That's correct, but we will, as I indicated, we'll keep those in
Extend
place
the
for the
picking up,
next
right.
30 to 60 days. I think we should have some type of definitive date, though, that which we have to let the people know. So I'd say if we had go 30 days,
Right.
See if we can work something out, and then, depending upon what the outcome is, give them 30 days notice or make some other arrangements.
That sounds good.
We'll send letters out to the properties that we had to let them know exactly what's happening, not to panic, and that we're certainly not going to allow trash to accumulate on city streets.
So there should be a conflict, Council Milonazo?
No, we're going to try to make it for 6:30. I think we'll be able to.
That should be
yeah.
fine. We'll
Okay.
do a half hour, and then
Okay, great.
the neighborhood.
Right.
Okay, before I ask for a motion to accept the communications, I would like to say that, Mr. McCarthy, don't leave the podium, stay right there. Thank goodness you have broad shoulders and Mr. Wallenstein is there standing next to you, assisting you. But with all the snowstorms we've had on the weekends, on Sunday evenings, New Year's Eve, and so forth, and with this endeavor, you're certainly stepping to the plate, and the council, and I know Manager Lynch appreciates it. Thank you very much.
Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Council Kazanjian?
Mr. Mayor, thank you. I just have one small thing. I should have probably put it under a motion, but somebody brought to my attention, if you're going down Bridge Street, taking a left turn on the French Street, there's, especially in the morning, there's a lot of traffic coming into the city. I was wondering if we can put some type of arrow there, if we can look into it, and
Refer to the traffic engineer?
if we can, yeah, that'd be great. Yeah. Thank you.
Second, Council Martin.
Thank you. I've had that complaint in the past, too, but on the communications, I have an issue on a different communication.
Sure.
If we moved on. There's a memo about completion of repairs on the Morton Street Bridge.
Yes.
Which is good news. The state has funded that project, and according to the memo, it's being bid, or was bid in January. The contract's about to be awarded, and then it's going to be completed in 1,125 days, which seems like a long time for a bridge with 20 boards on it. I mean, it's a very small bridge over 2 sets of railroad tracks. I mean, is that for real, or is this like a worst-case estimate? Do we know?
I believe that is an accurate number. And actually, oh, good, yes, I have the city engineer here. I believe they have to build a temporary bridge out there, too, and so that may take some of the time, but I'll let Mr. Mayo.
They're not going to be building a temporary bridge. They are going to leave the pedestrian side up for the kids to cross. But 30 months, I think, is what it came out to be. That is the contract's timeframe.
So is this the bridge, I think, where there's limited access? Is there any other access into that? There's a street there.
What they will be doing for temporary, though, do you mean that they'll be building a temporary road behind the Pine School coming out to Park Ave East?
Okay.
So that's included in the time frame, but the height, that's a very high bridge over the
Right,
railroad,
that
and they're
kinda goes
limited
up.
to the access. The railroad gives them limited access, so that kind of slows down the contractor's work.
But it literally is the only access into a street in
Yes,
the city. So.
Stratham and Deerfield, but
Right.
they'll be coming in and out through the street being built behind the Pine School.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Any other thing on the?
Yes.
Council Rita Miller.
So, thank you. So I think there's no footbridge then for the,
The sidewalk on the bridge will remain because the kids use it to walk to
That's
school.
right, that's
Without
right.
that, they'd have to walk all the way up and around, and so they're going to leave the pedestrian
and
sidewalk
that
up.
access road to the Pine School, that's not going to interfere with their recess for the children
No, it's outside the school boundaries.
Okay, thank you.
And I believe it goes it doesn't go through the school.
Not through the
parking lot.
school, it'll go from the back of the ball field to the school, go to the left, and behind the school, then to the right, out to Park Ave East.
Motion to accept the communications by Councilor Martin, seconded by Councilor Ahmed Mercia. I'm sorry, Councilor Elliott?
Thank you. Mayor, I just had one more item on the communications. Last Friday, Mr. Manager, we received a copy of the term sheet or latest, I guess, response to the Chancellor regarding the transfer of the Saugus Arena. Wondering if there's been any progress since that time, any communications, discussions, phone calls. Seems like we're moving closer to some agreement to relieve us of that burden, but wondering if there's been any update. I know it's been a week, and I know you did outline terms based upon the submission of the Chancellor versus the city's position, so update.
The update I can give you, Counselor, is that I spoke with the senator, and the sense that the senator has is that we're making some real progress, and that they're reviewing all of it now, and hope to be back to me in a short period of time. There wasn't a definite date given to that, but as I tried to tried to point out in my correspondence and in the offer, and as we've talked about before, we had, we've come this close before, but unfortunately, financial conditions didn't allow it to move forward. But I think that the proposal that I've put forward now, I think is in line with the university's needs and meets, and it certainly provides some city benefits as well. So, and the senators seem pleased with the proposal.
Okay. And actually, my concern is I'm presuming, maybe we can get a report at some time in the future where we are with the arena. I'm sure the state of the economy is not helping matters, and that deficit is only growing, faced with, we had a finance subcommittee meeting tonight, that sort of the daunting cloud that's hanging over. I think the sooner we can do this, the better. So if you can keep us posted.
Absolutely.
I mean, it seems like, to me anyway, I'm sure with any negotiation there's going to be some sticking points, but does it make sense to have the three parties in the room to hammer this thing out? Or I say, the state senator, yourself, and the chancellor to come up with, if there are minor, if there aren't minor. Like you said, we've been here before. Just don't want to see this fall apart again.
I'm going to leave that up to the senator to make those calls. I'd certainly be available to meet whenever the senator would like. So.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. I think that's a great idea. If you can get the three individuals in the one room together, put everything right on the table, they sent them the proposal, they know what we're looking for, and they can come back and say, well, we want this change, that change, or whatever the case may be, and we can iron everything out right at that one meeting. Instead of going back and forth, and that might take weeks or months, in which we really don't have that kind of time. So I think that's a great idea. So if we can.
And again, and we've done that in the past, and I'm more than happy to do that again, but I'm going to leave that up to the senator.
All right, great.
Motion to accept the communications, place them on file by Councilor Armin Mercer, seconded by Councilor Milonazo. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Those communications are accepted, placed on file. We must move into the public hearing, and I would like to take out of sequence the requests from National Grid first. The gentleman's been sitting here all evening, so the request is National Grid 20 feet of Hill Street, and another Verizon New England requests one pole location on Burn Street. Request is 20 feet of conduit. Please come to the podium. Those wishing to speak in favor.
Hi, my name is Dave Aguirre. I'm representing National Grid. National Grid is asking the City of Lowell for permission to move one pole number 2 on Burn Street. The purpose of this will be to serve the new building that's going to be actually behind McDonough's Funeral Home, and it's being on off of High Street. It's going to work out good for that new building and also 35 Burn Street. On Hale on Howard Street, the intersection is being widened, so we're going to be moving one pole. It's a streetlight pole, and we're going to be moving the associated conduit with it.
Anyone else wishing to come to the podium and speak in favor? Just give us your name and address, please.
My name's Joe McDonough. My address is 26 Highland Street. And the pole on Burn Street, I would like to have moved from Burn Street to closer to the back of 26 Highland Street so it could supply power to the new house, because otherwise it'll be a pretty dark house.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor? In favor, in favor. That portion of the public hearing is closed. Those wishing to speak in opposition? In opposition? Public hearing is closed. That will be referred to the wire inspector by approval by Councilor Kazanjian, seconded by Councilor Broderick. Yes.
All set.
All set?
Yeah, thanks.
You're all set. Thank you. Moving on with the public hearing. An ordinance amending the code of the City of Lowell, Massachusetts with respect to Chapter 290 thereof entitled Lowell Zoning Ordinance by adding the Hamilton Canal District Form-Based Code. Those wishing to speak in favor, please come to the podium to speak in favor. Speak in favor.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor, City Council, City Manager. I'm Stephen Green. I reside at 181 Market Street. I have been involved in the Hamilton Canal charrettes and planning process, and I want to speak strongly in favor of this form-based zoning code. It goes a long way to helping move this whole project forward. and more importantly, it gives more certainty to the development process and developers who are interested in taking part in the various projects on this particular 14-acre site. So thank you for the opportunity.
Anyone else wishing to come to the podium, speak in favor, please?
Mayor Caulfield, members of Lowell City Council, Mr. Manager, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Mark Oman, 58 Oakland Street, Lowell, Mass., and wish to be recorded in favor of this. This is a very comprehensive document, and it lists 12 goals and objectives of the master plan that was released last fall. And in that, it talks about street character, sidewalks, canal walkway, the various improvements, pedestrian improvements, and a trolley, which, by the way, there was an article in the newspaper yesterday that the National Park is conducting a feasibility study, which they have done previous, but they're going to update it, regarding have the trolley system expanded into a 7-day system if possible, and that would connect with the Hamilton Canal area and to the Gallagher Terminal. It also lists 7 various zoning districts: a signature district, a park district, Canal Walk district, Revere Street district, Gateway district, a courthouse district, and it complements what's happening further down by the overpass, where the new judicial center courthouse will be located. So I'm completely in favor of this, and I urge unanimous approval. Thank you very much.
Anyone else wishing to speak in favor? In favor? In favor? That portion of the public hearing is closed. Those wishing to speak in opposition? In opposition? Opposition? There is no opposition. The public hearing is closed. Was the wish of the body?
Move approval.
Move approval by Council Broderick, seconded by Council Milonazo. Council Milonazo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to, if I could, amend the motion to approve to read that we should approve it with the amendment provided to us by the Planning Board. We were left on our desk this evening a letter from Aaron Clausen indicating that there was an amendment addressing a lot line modification to parcels 7 and 8. It had to do with when the developer actually worked with the planning department. They want to make sure that the lot line between 7 and 8 regarding open space and access points for each parcel are located on the same as the building, as I understand it. So it has been approved by the planning board with that amendment, so I would ask that my colleagues support the ordinance as amended.
Seconded by Council Broderick. What's before you is a roll call vote to approve the ordinance that was presented to us as amended, as brought forward by the Associate Planner and Planning Board Administrator, Aaron Clausen. Any questions on that amendment? If none, roll call.
Councilor Armin Mercia.
Yes.
Councilor Rita Mercia.
Yes.
Councilor Milonazo.
Yes.
Councilor Broderick.
Yes.
Mayor Caulfield.
Yes.
Councilor Elliott.
Yes.
Councilor Kazanjian.
Yes.
Councilor Lenzi. Councilor Martin.
Yes.
8 yeas, 1 absent.
All right, moving on with the public hearing. An ordinance amending the Code of Ordinances, City of Lowell, Massachusetts, as amended by amending various sections of Chapter 243, Article 6, thereof entitled Excavations. Those people wishing to speak in favor, please come to the podium. Those people wishing to speak in favor. In favor? In favor? That portion of the public hearing is closed. Those wishing to speak in opposition. Opposition? Opposition? There is no opposition. Public hearing is closed. What's the wish of the body? Council Rita Mercer.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the city manager. Mr. Manager, what was the main reason for revisiting this ordinance?
Primarily the changes in state law. There's now state regulations and state law that refer to that pertain to this. I have City Engineer DeMeo can give you more detail. She has handled this, but it's that's been the primary purpose.
The state has initiated a new trench regulation. The benefit of the purpose of this is for the safety of the general public. There are already OSHA regulations for the safety of workers around trenches. In somewhere in the 1990s, there was a 4-year-old girl in Bridgewater who was buried in a trench in her own backyard. And so the legislature put together these set of regulations to prevent that type of thing from happening again. And they're what we've done here within the city of Lowell is implemented the trench regulations to be included in with the street opening regulations, and
Right.
they'll be together.
Okay, so having said that, there's a fee ordinance will also be amended to reflect a proposed fee of $50 for a trench. What was it before?
There wasn't any.
There wasn't any. And I was happy to see this some time ago come before us, and we referred it to to a public hearing, because at that time, I had talked about a particular business, well, some business owners on Central Street one particular Saturday morning that were very upset because they got to their establishment, their place of business, and it seemed like this company was in the street on Central Street just digging up all the, in front of their properties, and nobody was notified about this. Do you remember me telling you that, Mr. Manager? And I said, I'd like to revisit an ordinance such as this, and I thought that's the specific reason, that's why I asked this reason. And I'm figuring, since we're revisiting it, why couldn't we put in an amendment and have someone be aware of the fact that they, A, want to open up a street, and be kind enough and courteous enough to notify different businesses as next week we're going to be, on a particular day, we're going to be ripping up the street in front of your establishment. If you're a restaurant, don't order so much bacon and eggs because you're going to be losing business. So I thought this was the purpose of this particular ordinance, because if you look at the second page of the ordinance, it says Article 6, and you're going down section 243-34, application requirements, and you see 10 requirements, and that's good. There should be an 11th requirement for the company to notify the business people in the downtown especially. Well, there are many sections of the city that have their downtown, portions of Bridge Street, portions of the Acre, portions of Pawtucketville. I think these businesses should be notified when impending digging is going to take place and affect customers going to their establishment. So therefore, I'm not happy with this ordinance not having that in there, and I think now is the time to do it. You already held your public hearing. We're not going to have to do it again or advertise, but we should refer this back to someone, Mr. Manager, and be a little bit business-friendly. After all, the businesses come to this city, they're spending their money, their time, their sweat, and everything to create a business atmosphere, a business establishment. They're not paying a tax the way that residential are. They're paying double, and yet we're going to not be courteous and business friendly to them. I don't know why we can't do it. There's another section that you could put this in too, on the next page after that, section 243, 247, notification of commencement of work. Put it under that. I don't care where you put it, but someone should be responsible for this. As I complained that particular Saturday of this digging up in the street, I called Monday to a certain department in the city. Number one, they never had pulled a permit to be there. They never had notified any businesses. There's no notice or ordinance that says they have to, and I don't think it should be placed upon our city workers such as T.J. McCarthy or whatever department you go to pull this permit. Nobody there. They're working hard enough. If they're going to come into the city and dig, they should take some time to notify businesses. I'm not a business owner. I probably shouldn't even care, but I represent people in the city. I represent businesses, and if they're inconvenienced, we know about it. We should change the rules, and this is a perfect time to do that.
Councilor, could I recognize the solicitor? Maybe we could do that.
Well,
Right
we
here.
could do it now. That'd be wonderful. I'd be
Madam
the happiest
Solicitor?
person.
Counselor, after that
Manager?
event, I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Manager, do you want to...
Councilor, just so you know that as soon as you filed that motion and asked for that, a directive was put out to the permitting granting departments to require that as part of the process. So it is administratively done as opposed to legislatively done through the ordinance. Perhaps that's
what I was going to say.
We already require that, but
We did change our internal procedures that's now required. I'm going to guess that since that event happened last fall, you probably haven't gotten another call like that, because we've been very firm with everyone. If they're going to be doing any work downtown or in any of the areas where there's going to be interfering with people that are going to need to come and go, we've been very firm with them since then. So we have implemented it internally, while it may not be part of the regulations. The next time we go through and redo this, we can add it in if the solicitor thinks that that's an appropriate way to go. But it is part of our internal procedures now.
Okay, if there's something in place somewhere that people know that. Thank you very much. I wouldn't have known if I didn't ask that. Thank
Madam
you.
Solicitor, do you want to just weigh in on that a little bit?
I was just going to say, actually, the way it's the way it's being done right now is likely the most appropriate way to handle it administratively. And these changes, as the manager had indicated, were meant to comply with changes in state law, and these changes are pretty much spelled out by the state in terms of how they specifically wanted local ordinances to be amended. So one concern, just sitting here tonight off the cuff, would be whether we really have it within our jurisdiction to make that further type of change. But we certainly would have the right to do it the way it's currently being done in terms of as part of an administrative requirement.
Thank you. And so if I were to pull a permit to dig into the street, where would I go in the city? What department would I go in the city? To the engineer's office?
You'd start with engineering. In fact, with this process, as of Monday, the street opening permit's going to change a little bit from what it's been historically.
Yes.
But you'll start at engineering. We'll go through the process, make sure that there's enough paperwork. The 10 items that you mentioned there in the regulations that are required. For some of the simple projects, we're not going to have them give us a stamped, professional engineer stamped plan.
Right.
But a more complex project, they are going to need to give us some stamped plans. So we'll go through them with the requirements and determine what they're going to need, whose signatures they're going to need, and where they go next, and we'll help them. The last place they go is DPW to get TJ's signature on the permit. Wow. And he won't sign the permit unless they've gotten everything we've already determined that they need.
Which is to notify businesses as well, right?
In that case,
okay,
and one thing that I wrote down, I don't think we have in there, is there could be times when some of the parking meters may need to have bags on them, and the contractors aren't supposed to put bags on them. Our department is supposed to.
That's right.
And I wrote that down just now. I'm going to add that.
Okay, good. Thank you very much. I'm happy.
Are you happy with that?
I'm happy. Thank you.
Glad we could make you
Any
happy.
other discussion? Council.
Just briefly, Mayor, I think this is one of the more important ordinances that we're going to adopt, and we've been time and time again, for as long as I've been sitting here, you know, the way that trenches are backfilled and typically by larger corporations or companies coming in to do trench work, and the way they leave them after we spend thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars on our roads, new roads. You know, we end up, the city goes, typically goes back to, you know, backfill, and I think this is just a very important step to preserve, you know, our roads by the people that open them up, this controlled density fill. I know this was state regulated, and communities across the Commonwealth were, you know, really requesting that they backfill and use this. It's a little more expensive, but the roads go back into, you know, the best possible condition that, you know, that they were in. And we understand they're going to be openings. You know, there's going to be water breaks or gas lines and things, but got to put it back into the condition because it's taxpayer money that's you know, paving these roads. So I think this is a great addition, and the process that's put in place by the manager and the engineer's office in Public Works is really going to hold these, you know, contractors accountable. So I think it's a very good thing. Thank you.
Councilor, I'm pleased with your approval. One of the things that makes it very important going forward is, I know you were talking earlier about furloughs. The amount of work that's going on is going up, and the amount of staff time available for these inspections is not going up. So to have something like the possibility of them using controlled density fill to ensure that we get the compaction we need, the compaction is the key to having a good road surface when you're done. So having that as an option was a good thing, and thank you for pointing that out and approving it.
If there's no more debate or any issues, I'll ask for roll call.
Councilor Armand Murcia.
Yes.
Councilor Rita Murcia.
Yes.
Councilor Milanazzo.
Yes.
Councilor Broderick.
Yes.
Mayor Caulfield.
Yes.
Councilor Elliott.
Yes.
Councilor Kazanjian.
Yes.
Councilor Lenzi. Councilor Martin.
Yes.
8 yeas, 1 absent.
The last article on the public hearing agenda, an ordinance amending the Code of Ordinances for the City of Lowell, Massachusetts. The code with respect to Chapter 150 thereof entitled fees. Anyone wishing to speak in favor of this ordinance, please come to the podium, state your name. In favor, in favor, in favor. That portion of the public hearing is closed. Those wishing to speak in opposition. Opposition, opposition. There is no opposition. Public hearing is closed. What is the wish of the body? Councilor Milonazo.
A question for the manager or the city engineer. Is this a dollar amount set by state statute? Or is this?
That is a locally controlled fee.
Okay.
We came to that number by talking to surrounding communities, and it's something less than our current street opening permit, which is $75.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions pertaining to this? If none, roll call.
Councilor Armand Mercia.
Yes.
Councilor Rita Mercia.
Yes.
Councilor Milonazo.
Yes.
Councilor Broderick.
Yes.
Mayor Caulfield.
Yes.
Councilor Elliott.
Yes.
Councilor Kazanjian.
Yes.
Councilor Lenzi. Councilor Martin.
Yes.
8 yeas, 1 absent.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Before we move on with the agenda, thank you, Lisa. I'd just like to recognize Robert Tuglavy in sitting in our audience. The gentleman met with me in my office prior to the meeting, and I asked him to come to the meeting, and he sat through the Finance Subcommittee meeting and also a portion of the council meeting. And Mr. Bobby, I thank you for being here, and I hope you're enjoying government in action, so thank you.
I don't know.
Moving on with the agenda. Mayor Edward Caulfield, members of the City Council regard Council on Aging appointment. There are 2 requests for confirmation. Dear Mayor Caulfield, members of the City Council, pursuant to the code of the City of Lowell, 2-76, is with pleasure that I am appointing the following person to membership of the Lowell Council on Aging: Andrew J. Hostelada, 260 Liberty Street, Lowell, Mass. 01851, to fill the unexpired term of Joyce Coughlin, who resigned her seat within term expires March 7, 2009, and the new 3-year term expiring March 7th, 2012, or such time thereafter until a successor is appointed and qualified. Confirmation by the City Council is required for this appointment and is hereby requested. Move for approval by Councilor Broderick, seconded by Councilor Milonazo. Roll call.
Councilor Armand Mercia.
Yes.
Councilor Rita Mercia.
Yes.
Councilor Milonazo.
Yes.
Councilor Broderick.
Yes.
Mayor Caulfield.
Yes.
Councilor Elliott. Councilor Kazanjian.
Yes.
Councilor Lenzi. Councilor Martin.
Yes.
7 yeas, 2 absent. 8 yeas, 1 absent.
Moving pursuant to Chapter 266 of the Code of Ordinances, City of Lowell, Massachusetts, concerning Section 266-6 thereof, entitled Temporary Experimental Regulations, Temporary Traffic Regulations, are hereby implemented for a period of 60 days. Whereas the City of Lowell desires to make temporary rules regulating traffic under actual conditions for a period of 60 days, and whereas Chapter 266 of the Code of Ordinances, City of Lowell, Massachusetts, Section 266-6 thereof, entitled Temporary Experimental Regulations, authorizes the City Council to make such temporary rules for a period not to exceed 60 days. Now therefore be it ordered, adjudged, and decreed by the City Council of the City of Lowell as follows: effective immediately for a period of 60 days thereof, the following temporary traffic regulations shall be implemented. Section 26-55, parking for handicapped person, is hereby amended by adding the following: Dunphy Street, 25 northerly side, beginning at a point 38 feet easterly from the eastern curb line of 6th Ave, running easterly a distance of 20 feet along Dunphy Street. And Wash Street, southerly side, beginning at a point 85 feet easterly from the eastern curb line of Waller Street, running easterly a distance of 20 feet along Wash Street. Second reading by title. Pursuant to Chapter 266 of the Code of Ordinances, City of Lowell, Massachusetts, concerning Sections 266-6 thereof, entitled Temporary Experimental Regulations, Temporary Traffic Regulations, are hereby implemented for a period of 60 days. No debate, no questions. Roll call.
Councilor Armand Mercia.
Yes.
Councilor Rita Mercia.
Yes.
Councilor Milonazo.
Yes.
Councilor Broderick.
Yes.
Mayor Caulfield.
Yes.
Councilor Elliott.
Yes.
Councilor Kazanjian.
Yes.
Councilor Lenzi. Councilor Martin.
Yes.
8 yeas, 1 absent.
Authorizing the city manager to accept the proposal of Louisa Bonham in the amount of $50,055 to purchase property located at 520 Bonham Avenue, Lot B, Lowell, and to execute all documents necessary for the transfer of the property. Motion to waive the full reading by Councilor Broderick, second by Councilor Elliott. All in favor of waiving the full reading signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The full reading's been waived. Second reading by title. Authorizing the city manager to accept the proposal of Louisa Bonham in the amount of $50,055 $5 to purchase property located at 520 Barnum Avenue, Lot B, Lowell, and to execute all documents necessary for the transfer of the property. Any discussion, any debate, any questions?
Move approval.
Move approval by Councilor Milonazo, second by Councilor Arman Mercia. Roll call.
Councilor Arman Mercia.
Yes.
Councilor Rita Mercia.
Yes.
Councilor Milonazo.
Yes.
Councilor Broderick.
Yes.
Mayor Caulfield.
Yes.
Councilor Elliott.
Yes.
Councilor Kazanjian.
Yes.
Councilor Lenzi. Councilor Martin.
Yes.
8 yeas, 1 absent.
Vote authorizing the city manager to accept the application of Joyce M. Frazee in the amount of $559.80 to purchase property located at 520 Barnum Avenue, Parcel C, Lowell, under the real estate yard sale program, and to execute all documents necessary for the transfer of the property. Motion to waive the full reading by Councilor Rita Mercia, second by Councilor Milonazo. All in favor of waiving the full reading, signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The full reading's been waived. Second reading by title, authorizing the city manager to accept the application of Joyce M. Frazee in the amount of $559.80 to purchase property located at 520 Barnum Avenue, Parcel C, Lowell, under the real estate yard sale program, and to execute all documents necessary for the transfer of the property. Any questions, Council?
I don't have a question, Mr. Mayor. I'm not opposed to this, and you're going to, I believe you might see another yard sale application further down the agenda. Some time ago, when we would do the yard sale programs and would have a vote before the city council, we would then see how the person that was responding, how their application went as far as what is their intended use, and I didn't see anything here anymore. And I enjoyed seeing that, to see what their intention was going to be. Why was their application more advantageous than, say, another abutter? So I don't, you know what I'm talking about, right, Adam? And I don't see any responses to their submittal as to their desire for what they're going to do with their. I know there's certain requirements. They can't, like, build another house. But, I mean, I thought that we would see something as to what their intention was going to be, and I don't see it.
Well, I appreciate that, Councilor. Typically, the typical yard sale property is one where there is a number of abutters who are competing potentially for the property, or at least who are eligible to bid, and there are a series of some sort of competitive criteria associated with it. In this particular case, there actually is only one eligible abutter, and the property in question is land that abutter has actually been utilizing for some time, presumably believing it to be theirs, although it was actually city-owned. So essentially, there wouldn't be, to the casual observer, any substantial change to this property as a result of this transaction, other than that it will now be owned by the party that has been using it and taxable.
Is that the same thing as the other people further down on the agenda?
The other one further down on the agenda is actually closing out an issue that the council actually dealt with a couple of years ago. This is the one remaining of 3 yard sale parcels that were part of the overall planning for the Moulton Square and the Father McGuire Park area. And there's a new public parking lot that was constructed there. And then there was a small piece of land that the neighborhood had requested and the neighbors had requested be conveyed under the yard sale program to the abutters. 2 of the 3 parties acquired it a couple of years ago. The last party, there was some discussion as to who would be responsible for a retaining wall on the property. That was ultimately resolved, that the yard sale transactions are as is, and that's what's proceeding at this point. So this is just following up on something
Okay, thank you.
back.
That's fine.
Any other questions or debate? Roll call.
Councilor Arman Mercia.
Yes.
Councilor Rita Mercia.
Yes.
Councilor Milonazo.
Yes.
Councilor Broderick.
Yes.
Mayor Caulfield.
Yes.
Councilor Elliott.
Yes.
Councilor Kazanjian.
Yes.
Councilor Lenzi. Councilor Martin.
Yes.
8 yeas, 1 absent.
Authorizing the city manager to execute a conservation restriction with the Lowell Parks and Conservation Trust and the trustees of reservations for property located at 520 Barnum Avenue, Lot B, in the city of Lowell. Motion to waive the full reading by Councilor Martin, seconded by Councilor Arman Mercia. All in favor of waiving the full reading, signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Full reading's been waived. Second reading by title, authorizing the city manager to execute a conservation restriction with the Lowell Parks and Conservation Trust and the trustees of reservations for property located at 520 Barnum Avenue, Lot B, in the city of Lowell. Any questions, any debate? If none, roll call.
Councilor Arman Mercia.
Yes.
Councilor Rita Mercia.
Yes.
Councilor Milonazo.
Yes.
Councilor Broderick.
Yes.
Mayor Caulfield.
Yes.
Councilor Elliott.
Yes.
Councilor Kazanjian.
Yes.
Councilor Lenzi. Councilor Martin.
Present.
7 yeas, 1 absent, 1 present.
And I just want to indicate that the Pawtuckaville Citizens Council endorsed this immensely, and they're very happy that the outcome of this property is going to be conveyed. It's going to be put to good use. Thank you. Moving on with the agenda, authorizing the city manager to accept the application of Richard J. Barry and Rita H. Barry in the amount of $222.80 to purchase property located at 95 West 6th Street, Parcel B, under the real estate yard sale program, and to execute all documents necessary for the transfer of the property. Motion to waive the full reading by Councilor Broderick, seconded by Councilor Kazanjian. All in favor of waiving the full reading signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The full reading has been waived. Second reading by title. Authorizing the city manager to accept the application of Richard J. Barry and Rita H. Barry in the amount of $222.80 to purchase property located at 95 West 6th Street, Parcel B, under the real estate yard sale program, and to execute all documents necessary for the transfer of the property. Any questions on this particular request? If none, roll call.
Councilor Arman Mercia?
Yes.
Councilor Rita Mercia?
Yes.
Councilor Milonazo?
Yes.
Councilor Broderick?
Yes.
Mayor Caulfield?
Yes.
Councilor Elliott?
Yes.
Councilor Kazanjian?
Yes.
Councilor Lenzi? Councilor Martin?
Yes.
8 yeas, 1 absent.
Billable hours.
That's the one you just did.
All right.
Don't want to do that one.
Public hearing, March 10th.
This one here? In City Council, order to acceptance of portion of Tremont Place to accept a portion of Tremont Place, formerly known as Tremont Street, as a public way in the city of Lowell, whereas the former Tremont Street was abandoned pursuant to an order of the City Council dated May 28, 1968, and whereas the former Tremont Street was abandoned in connection with the Northern Canal Renewal Project, Mass R-16, and whereas a number of streets were discontinued as public ways or ways for other public rights of ways for the City Development Authority by way of a cooperative agreement with the Lowell Redevelopment Authority, which agreed to lay out the new streets, replacing the streets to be vacated and abandoned. Motion to waive the full reading by Councilor Broderick, seconded by Councilor Kazanjian. All in favor of waiving the full reading signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The full reading's been waived. To accept a portion of Tremont Place, formerly known as Tremont Street, as a public way in the city of Lowell, and this will be forwarded to a public hearing if the council so wishes on March the 10th. Motion to forward it to a public hearing by Councilor Arman Mercia, seconded by Councilor Broderick. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor, do we need a roll call on that? I don't know.
Going to-
Madam Solicitor, should we?
Going to a public hearing?
To send it to a public hearing?
No, we don't need that? Okay, fine.
That
Yeah.
should finish the manager's
Okay.
agenda. Now, we're on reports.
Okay, that's fine.
Councilor Martin?
No, it's just no roll call.
Do I need to, I was going to abstain from that last vote. Do I need to do that?
I was going to vote present.
Oh, if you want a roll call, we can do that.
Okay.
If that's I didn't know that's what you wanted. Let's take a roll call.
Roll call.
vote, okay?
Councilor Arman Mercia?
Yes.
Councilor Rita Mercia?
Yes.
Councilor Milonazo?
Present.
Councilor Broderick?
Yes.
Mayor Caulfield?
Yes.
Councilor Elliott?
Yes.
Councilor Kazanjian?
Present.
Councilor Lenzi? Councilor Martin?
Present.
I just want to
present,
point
one
out for the
absent.
record, I have no financial interest in there at all. That's why I'm able to vote for it.
Had I known you needed that, I would have done that. I didn't know.
Apologize.
Gone to a public hearing.
Subcommittee reports. Are we all finished with the manager's agenda portion?
Yeah, I hope so.
Okay. Subcommittee reports? Councilor Kazanjian?
Thank you, Mayor. On February 17th, we had a joint subcommittee, and the topic was the Maury School. It was with the school committee and the subcommittee for the city council. And first of all, the manager stated that we were receiving some reimbursement funds for the removal of the hazardous waste that was on the site. Good news is that the project is on time and on budget. And we are pushing to demolish the existing building, the old Maury School, during the summer months, which at that point in time, we didn't see was going to be a big problem. which is which we thought was essential because of the harm it could cause to some of the children, because the two buildings are so close. We're a couple of feet or 5 feet away from one from the other. But anyways, it was a good meeting, a lot of information, and we're, like I said, we're on target, and money-wise and time. So.
Any other discussion pertaining to the report that Council Mercy?
I just have a question. Would the Maury School and the University Avenue Bridge have qualified for the stimulus program if it was shovel-ready, as they call it?
I don't believe the Maury School would have qualified. I mean, people are putting in just about everything into the list, but my sense is that the state wouldn't have, because remember, everything has to go through the state, so my sense is that wouldn't have. Frankly, I'm a little, on the University Ave Bridge, I'm surprised that the state didn't include that, because it is on their list of, their own list of projects that need to take place with or without a stimulus. So I was somewhat surprised that that wasn't in there. As you may have seen in the Lowell Sun the other day, none of the projects in this region were included in the transportation projects were included in the stimulus package by the state. So that was one that would have been, I think, would have been ready to go.
The reason I bring this up is I'm wondering if the law department could look into the possibility that some of these projects that we've bonded already and that we're in debt for would have qualified under the stimulus program, and if so, can we get reimbursed for the debt we incurred? It's a shot in the dark to get our debt reduced by saying it qualified for stimulus that would have been around.
Well, we certainly could. We can try that. I think every community in the country would probably do something similar, and it really
I just want to beat everybody.
We'll give you a chance then. We can look into that.
Thank you. You know, Councilor Amamursi brought up was a good point. Mr. Manager, the Riley School needs an infusion of some money. The auditorium, new windows, and so forth. Is there any way we could nominate that for being shovel-ready? Because that school does need some assistance, some renovations.
We can certainly check on that as well. Again, there's a backlog of projects at the school building assistance program that I would think that the state would have included in their list. Again, keep in mind, these aren't projects that necessarily the community, the cities and towns submit to the federal government. They submit them to the state government, and the state develops the list. And so I would think that they would be including the larger projects that the state has already on the hook for a commitment to, where jobs would be created and they'd be shovel-ready and ready to go. But we can certainly check on that, Mr. Mayor.
I know that I received a personal phone call from Congresswoman Nikki Songus, and it could have been a month ago, that Lowell, the city of Lowell, the school department was going to receive $22 million over a 2-year period. $15 million the first year, and that money was going to be dedicated to Title I, special education, and school construction. So maybe we could utilize that some way.
Mr. Mayor, that was in the House version of the bill.
Yes, right.
The eventual bill that was signed into law by the President, I believe, took out all of the construction monies that were in the House bill. The Senate did not include those, but we'll double check on that as well.
Thank you. Any other discussion on Councilor Kazanjian's report? If none, accept the report as a report of progress by Councilor Broderick, second by Councilor Elliott. All in favor, signify by saying aye. The report has been accepted and recorded. Councilor Elliott?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Finance Subcommittee met this evening prior to the City Council meeting to get an update on FY09 finances and the budget, as well as a status update on next fiscal year 2010. The last time the subcommittee met, the manager had brought in reductions, savings, totaling approximately $2.8 million. We had to close a gap of approximately $571,000. Manager indicated at the meeting tonight that as a result of the firefighters reducing or not getting paid for the 2 holidays. That'll save $130,000. The engineers have offered $4,000 in savings in terms of furlough, as well as furloughs of all non-union employees, which will save $30,000. He's met with the managers met with a number of the unions to. Well, let me take a step back. Those additional measures have saved $165,000, leaving approximately $395,000 that we continue to have to look for this fiscal year and this fiscal year alone. He's met with a number of the unions. No decisions have been made on furloughs from those unions, 3-day furloughs. We have recessed until 2 weeks, hopefully between now and then the manager will have met with those unions. They will have gone back to their membership and come back with some decision one way or the other. There was also a discussion on FY010. Manager provided an update as to comparisons from revenues of last year to this year. Naturally, a steep decrease in local aid is going to affect our bottom line. Other factors, however, that continue to put stress on the budget, we had a lengthy discussion about health insurance, and there's a $4.4 million increase from last year in our health insurance costs, additional increases in our pension costs, and a number of other factors that he is working on. So that's really just a brief recap of tonight's meeting. It's unfortunately it's not good news. But we continue to, the manager and the staff continue to look for ways to, to shrink that $12 million deficit, working with the unions, and next year is going to be a very difficult fiscal year. The bottom line is, after all is said and done, we're looking at almost $13 million that we have to cut from a budget of approximately 65 million. That is essentially non-discretionary. So salaries making up, salary and wages making up a good portion of that budget. So I don't, Mr. Manager, you brought the information forward. I'm just really, recapping it back for our folks at home. And I don't know if there's anything else that we want to add. We're going to meet again in 2 weeks when you have some additional information to try to, to work this through.
Mr. Manager?
Mr. Mayor, Councilor, I think you gave a good synopsis of the meeting and the financial conditions that we're facing. Just a point of clarification. I think I wasn't sure how you left it with our conversations with the unions. We have met with all but one union at this point, so we hope to have some answers back. But I can't stress enough the votes taken by the engineers. Certainly a small department, but they are all very willing to work with us to give up to take the 3-day furlough. Certainly the non-union people who have generally oftentimes when the salaries are being given out, they're affected by freezes in salaries, and they take those. And this time there was, with really no complaining, they were happy to help out by embracing the 3-day furlough. But then again, the fire union certainly stepped up to the plate with the vote that they took to give up those 2 holidays. Gave up compensation to help close this fiscal year 09 budget gap. Really shows a commitment on their part to helping the city, and really I can't say enough about the cooperation that they've given throughout this process and all the other relations that I've certainly had with them over the last couple of years. So I think I agree that the news isn't particularly good, but I think what is encouraging is that we are seeing that type of commitment, and we're seeing that type of cooperation from our bargaining units. I can't say that we're going to be able to make it through this next fiscal year without impacting, having positions eliminated, positions reduced, having services affected. But I think we're going a long way towards solving many of these problems. And as I look around the state, Mr. Mayor, you mentioned New Bedford, where they're looking at some very serious reductions in force there. And I know in talking to other communities and looking into other communities, there's a lot of stuff going on that is very very difficult in other communities with job reductions, with very long furloughs, in some cases 2 weeks worth of furloughs, services being affected very dramatically, and we're not immune from that, but I think we're working hard to minimize that to the taxpayers, and working jointly with department heads, employees, and certainly in city councilors, getting ideas along the way that we're following up on, and some of which work, some of which may not be able to work. All of them are good, but you know, we hope to be able to make it through this with the least impact for the taxpayers of the city. So, thank you for the report.
Council Rita Murphy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, I also want to say thank you to the fire department, Lowell's finest, the fire department. They're giving up $130,000. They're giving 2 holiday pays, which amounts to like 3 8-hour days. I want to commend them. That's what sacrifice is all about, that we all join together, and my office stands, as well as the little pay that I get. I'm willing to give a week of that up. And I know that Councilor Mercia wants to do the furlough and give the next 3 Tuesdays up, but that's all right. Be that as it may, I know that's what he wants. So thank you very much. I think everyone to come together at a time of need like this, this is a good thing, and this is what makes this city so great, if all the unions and people can come together.
It was an excellent meeting, Councilor Elliott and Councilor Martin and Councilor Broderick. Very informative, and I thought the manager was extremely informative of many, many issues. But as the mayor of the city, representing this fine elected body and the people of Lowell, I would like to thank President David Keene of Local 853, the men and women of the Lowell Fire Department, for showing their leadership and stepping to the plate, and we appreciate it immensely. Thank you very, very much. The manager brought out some good points on the healthcare issues, and Tom Moses can certainly correct me if I'm wrong, but in 1999, the healthcare cost to the city of Lowell on the municipal side and the school side was $13 million. In the year 2009, I believe that figure is like $32 million. Am I pretty close, Tom? $32 million for the health, for both the school department and the municipal? Pretty close. I just want to point out that Manager Lynch, I think, brought forward last year an initiative for the school department to choose between HMO Blue or Master Medical, and many of the teachers came forward and were granted that permission to select HMO Blue. And how much money did that save, Mr. Manager? Tom?
I don't know if we have a number to quantify that, Mr.
Hundreds
Mayor,
of
but
thousands of dollars.
it saved hundreds of thousands of dollars, and importantly, laid the foundation for many more hundreds of thousands of dollars in savings moving forward. And from my perspective, and I know it was a little controversial at the time, where we we accepted a statute that should have been accepted 15, 16 years ago, probably, when we first put HMOs in the city, maybe even a little bit longer than that. But when doing so, it made it clear that once you put that, allowed an HMO to take place in the city, you had to allow everyone to take advantage of it. And up until that point, the teacher's contract strictly prohibited anything but Master Medical from being offered. So through that effort of this council, and we were able to, in adopting that, we were able to make the HMO available. Councilor Martin certainly remembers the discussions we had at in the negotiations that we did. That I think proved very helpful to getting the teachers union on board with the PPO, and it certainly has produced savings for the city. And I think we, again, it was a very important first step for the city, and I think hopefully we can build on that.
And I can certainly attest to the HMO Blue insurance, because I have been in the best hospital and I've seen the best doctors in the world, and HMO Blue worked fine for me. So this is what has to happen, is people have to come to the plate and face the fact communities such as Lowell cannot continue the spending we have in the past. And in order to get through this fiscal dilemma, we have to make some reforms and some changes. So, Councilor Elliott, that was an excellent report. Motion to accept the report as report of progress by Councilor Kazanjian, seconded by Councilor Rita Mercer. All in favor of accepting the report, place it on file, signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The report has been accepted. Any more subcommittee reports? We have 3 claims. Property damage referred to the Law Department by Councilor Martin, seconded by Councilor Ahmed Mercia. All in favor, signify by saying aye. We have a miscellaneous Joseph Rondo, 75 Agawam Street, requests a handicap sign. Refer it to the traffic engineer by Councilor Kazanjian, seconded by Councilor Broderick. And we're into the motions.
He is so fresh.
What'd you say, move approval?
Yeah, for all of them.
Oh.
You're not going to get so lucky.
We'll be out of here.
I heard that.
We'll be out of here soon. Motion. This is from Council Rita Mercia. Handicap sign at 87 Livingston Street, seconded by Councilor Kazanjian. On the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, but I thought that I'd like to amend it and make a 60-day trial. I thought I said that. I always do the 60-day trial with my motions. It's at 87 Livingston Street, but if you see the motion says the side of that property, which would take us to Carter Avenue. So that's the other side because the lady...
so the motion is for a 60-day trial. Is that what you want?
Which is going to be permanent anyways,
Right,
isn't it?
sure.
Okay, we could
So you
discuss
wanna-
that,
you
but I
wanna
won't.
expedite the...
Yes,
Okay.
please, I would.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any discussion on the motion? Yes, Manager Lynch. I'm sorry.
Just a question, Counselor. That's at front of 87.
No, the address is 87 Livingston Street. They're asking me for the side of it. The side
on
of
Carter.
87 Livingston Street is Carter Avenue.
Great,
Thank
thank
you.
All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. This is an interesting motion. The next motion, very, very interesting. Motion by
In a
Council
good
Rita
way.
Mercer. City Council requests the city manager to investigate the possibility of locating the police training center in the unfilled portion of the early garage, seconded by Councilor Elliott. On the
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It is an interesting motion in a positive, good way. It is my understanding that Police Superintendent Ken LaValle, in an effort to save some of the $117,000 that we were reading about in the paper quite recently, that is generated from police training fees at Cross Point, is looking for a more suitable place to house the police training facility other than to stay at Cross Point Towers. This issue got me to think about what would make the best sense and save money and help the city at the same time, and this is the thought of this particular motion. Why not put the police training center in the ground floor of the Edward J. Early Garage on Middlesex Street? We know that half of the retail space already will be taken by Garcia Brogans and a dentist, but the other half is available. How does this work? And I think it's quite simple. The economy is not where it should be. People are not banging down the doors to put their business in the garage. If they were, I would scratch this idea, but they're not, so I won't. The money for the rent could go to a private entity like the LRTA, or it could go to the city of Lowell. So I say to my colleagues, which do you prefer? This space makes perfect sense. Let's say that the police training area that is needed is 2,500 square feet. Let's say the city is asking for $11 a square foot. That's $27,500 a year, or $2,291 a month. Such a savings than paying $117,000, which further investigation looking into it will be $119,000 in the next quarter. And the money comes back to the city of Lowell, money that is coming from fees that police from 24 surrounding communities pay for us to provide required yearly police training, service training. These police officers are already police, but they need to be trained yearly. Our own police officers do not pay an in-service fee, so the entire cost is strictly from the surrounding communities, all paid for by out-of-town police budgets. They come to the garage site and they park in the garage, and the city's enterprise parking fund gets that parking revenue as well because they park upstairs. The city of Lowell is the winner. The savings of not paying $119,020 a square foot, but they're now paying $27,511 a square foot, would be a savings of $91,500, enough to hire 2 people at $45,000 or 3 people at $30,000 a year, which was the goal of the chief anyways, to save rent money and put it into salaries. That's what he said, not me. The Jam Plan neighborhood would have an expanded police presence, and at lunchtime would stimulate the economy in the area when the police officers look for a place to eat lunch, which incidentally may be a new place, the Courthouse Deli, which is going to be on the across from the garage on Marston Street, which is going to open tomorrow with a soft opening. I want you to know that. They have great sandwiches named in honor of police terms, courthouse terms. I should have brought it. I think I left it in my coat in
You're doing fine.
Yep. Now, now in September, when there is a small hiatus in training, there could be a substation in that site there, so we're not really losing out at all. This substantial savings is well worth the move in this idea. I feel that it is a win-win situation. No. I think it's a win-win-win situation, and I'm excited about the possibility of this to be looked into, Mr. Manager. Thank you.
Mr. Manager?
I will certainly have that referred to me, but just by way of a comment, I think it's an excellent motion. As you know, we've been looking at ways to put some police presence down there. We're exploring the garage, and we're exploring some other private areas, and as Councilor Mercia pointed out, working with the police chief, we were looking at the costs of the Crosspoint area and looking at some other alternatives, including the old NIMCOG space at the LRTA.
I'm familiar with that space.
I know you're familiar with that space.
There's no windows there. I want you to know that.
I don't want them looking out the windows. But so we were off looking at a number of different options to cut down costs so that we would be able to keep more money in the police department for essential services. And Councilor Mercier raised this issue with me. We added this to the list, and it did seem to meet all of our requirements of filling up that space, having some money come through back into the garage enterprise, producing some activity, producing some police activity. Even when there's not training going on, there will be police staff that would be available, that would be, are at Crosspoint now and would be at this location. So we're taking this very seriously, and we think this is an idea that you'll probably see again when we do the budget. The one caveat that I spoke to Councilor Mercier about, and when Superintendent LaValle and I did talk about it, I did warn him not to get too comfortable there, that I think in the long term, we want to make sure that area, be used for retail purposes. Yes. But for the next 3 to 5 years, it would seem that would make sense to address financial needs, police presence needs, and fill up that space so that we don't sell ourselves in the long-term leasing of that. But we're doing some more work on that, and I'll come back to the council with a report.
Thank you.
Councilor Costanza?
Thank you, Mayor. Geez, I think that's an excellent motion, one of the best that we've heard in a while. I mean, we desperately need police presence there. We're going to be renting and getting revenue coming out of that space. Is there any lease that we have in place right now for Crosspoint? Is a long-term lease?
I checked it out.
There is a lease, but contractual agreement, but that's something that we're reviewing as part of this process as well.
Okay. All right.
Councilor Milanazzo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I too think it's an excellent motion. I do have a question, however, on Garcia Brogan's lease, or even the lease for the dentist. We don't specify that the other space along Middlesex Street has got to be retail. I mean, because again, retail attracts retail. So again, Garcia Brogan, who's putting $500,000 into their space, they're not under the impression that there's going to be specific retail next door as opposed to a police training facility.
We'll check on that. I haven't checked on that.
Again, I think this is a very good motion. I'm going to support this. But again, I think we should just double check that we didn't in the lease put any language in there that it has to be retail space.
I'll double check that.
I don't think they'd mind it anyways. All those police officers will go to Garcia
And you're probably
Brogan
right.
for lunch.
You're probably right. Right.
Anyone else like to comment? Councilman.
Councilor Milonazo raised a good point, but I'd be surprised if there were that. I mean, I reviewed the lease, and I mean, typically you might restrict another restaurant from the adjacent space or something, but to mandate something's not something a typical landlord would accept. I guess we're not necessarily a typical landlord, but, and it might be attractive to them to have, a bunch of people from out of town hungry at lunchtime nearby. So it is a good point.
This motion is a game-winning home run, not just a home run. A, it's going to bring positive activity into that neighborhood. B, the police who are going to the training have to park their car in our garage. And C, they're going to have to go to the barber, the gym, the bank, the restaurant, so forth. So it's really
a stimulation
a great
package,
home run,
stimulus package.
So, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The motion carries. The next motion. Is that it? Okay. The next motion by Council Rita Mercier. City Council requests the city manager to have the police department and the traffic engineer address the speeding on Puffer Street. Seconded by Council Broderick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This motion is submitted at the request of residents on Puffer Street, who, because of an adjacent street being Powell Street, was made one-way recently. Drivers are using Puffer Street more frequently, and thus more accidents are happening and excessive speeding is taking place. Last week, a speeder lost control and actually took out a resident's porch and went into the house without being invited and without getting out of the car. It's true. I'm not kidding. And I'd like to refer this motion to Jeff Gomes in the city traffic engineer.
All in
Thank
favor
you.
of the motion signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The motion carries. Last motion of the evening by Mayor Caulfield. And if there's no objection, I'll do it from the podium. City Council requests the city manager to update the council on the contract with Comcast, seconded by Council Broderick. And the motion speaks for itself. I met with the manager and Andy Sheehan and a couple of weeks away, but this funding that has to keep LTC moving along. And Mr. Manager, if you can come back with a report, or if you'd like to say something now, fine.
Mr. Mayor, I think we're getting close to the point. It's been a long process, and Councilor Martin has been hounding me about this one as well in terms of getting a report on this to either the council or the cable subcommittee, and particularly as it relates to LTC. So I'd be happy to get that report, and I'll more than likely have Attorney Fenton, who's been doing the negotiating for us, to be available for that. So,
thank you. Before we adjourn, I just have just a little communicating to do with you. On Sunday, March the 8th, Irish Mass at St. Patrick's Church, 10 a.m., followed by a walk to the Lowell City Hall for the Irish flag raising ceremony. Brunch will follow at St. Patrick's Church Hall. Then on Sunday, March 15th, will be the Irish Memorial Mass at 4 p.m. That's on Saturday, followed by a dinner dance at the Lowell Lodge of Elks at 6 p.m. So anyone wishing to attend that function, you could contact Chuck Carney or anyone at St. Patrick's Church. And I must remind everyone that on Friday, I believe that's March 15th? 13th, I'm sorry, 13th. The City Manager Lynch will have a St. Patrick's Day breakfast. It will be at the Doubletree Hotel at 7 a.m. And prepare and get ready with your Irish jokes and so forth. I couldn't tell a joke if my life depended on it, but we'll all be there wearing the green, and we'll have a great time. And with that said, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn by Councilor Armin Mercier, seconded by Councilor Rita. Thank you. That was a good meeting.
Another one.
Good meeting. I hope your mother's doing better. Oh!